Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into a case that, well, it's captivated and confounded people for decades now. We're talking of Maura Murray.
It really is a baffling one. A story full of contradictions, isn't it? You've got Maura Murray, who seems like this driven, bright, 21-year-old nursing student at UMass Amherst.
Right.
And she spends this whole day, February 9th, 2004, seemingly making very careful plans for a trip, like a week away. But then, bam, all that planning just runs headlong into this moment of pure chance, a car crash, not even a major one, seemingly, but on this really remote road in New Hampshire.
Route 112.
Exactly. She walks away from the locked car and just vanishes. The trail goes completely cold.
So our mission, our goal for this deep dive is to try and piece together what we can from this, well, this mountain of information. We've got police logs, accounts from her family, various investigative reports, loads of media coverage.
A huge amount.
Yeah, and we want to understand not just the events of that night, February 9th, but also what was happening before that. What were the pressures, the context leading up to it?
That's crucial, I think, because this wasn't just a random event happening in a vacuum. There was a whole storm brewing in her life. Personal stuff, financial worries, even legal issues.
And understanding that context might be key to figuring out why a seemingly minor crash turned into this enduring mystery.
Absolutely. And, the sources really highlight why people call this the first crime mystery of the social media age. It hit just as online communities were really starting to take off.
Right around the time Facebook launched, wasn't it?
Just days after, yeah. So you have this puzzle with just enough clues, the emails she sent, the money she took out, the specific location to fuel endless theories online.
But also just enough missing pieces to keep it completely unsolved. Maddeningly so.
Exactly. It's this tantalizing puzzle.
Okay, so let's lay out the basic facts for anyone maybe less familiar. Maura Murray, born May 4, 1982, in Brockton, Mass. She was a junior, studying nursing at UMass Amherst.
Disappeared February 9th, 2004, near Woodsville, which is in Haverhill, New Hampshire, right off Route 112.
And today, over 21 years later, she's still officially listed as a missing person.
And her background, it's worth noting, she wasn't someone who just drifted, She actually started out at West Point.
The U.S. Military Academy. Wow.
Yeah, studying chemical engineering for 3 semesters, highly disciplined environment. Then she transferred to UMass for nursing.
That's quite a shift from military engineering to nursing.
It is. It suggests someone, driven, capable, but maybe searching a bit.
Yeah.
Moving from that very rigid structure to a caring profession. It definitely paints a picture of someone with ambition, but maybe under some pressure, too.
So when we look at the timeline, those weeks and months right before she disappeared, February 9th, it really does feel like things were piling up on her. Stress after stress.
Yeah, it seems like multiple pressure points were converging all at once. Let's maybe break those down.
Okay, what's the first big one?
Well, there was the legal trouble she was in. This was hanging over her head and potentially, threatening her future career.
This was the credit card issue, right?
Yeah.
Back in November 2003.
Exactly. 3 months before she vanished, she admitted using a stolen credit card number to order some food. Minor thing in some ways, but...
But for a future nurse.
Right. The charge was continued in December. That meant she had this 3-month period of good behavior she needed to get through for it to be dismissed completely.
So any slip up in those 3 months, like, say, getting caught driving under the influence, or any other charge could bring that fraud charge right back.
And potentially derail her nursing career before it even started. That's a huge weight. It gives her a very, very strong reason to avoid any contact with police, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That makes her reaction at the crash scene later make a lot more sense. Okay, so legal pressure, that's one major stressor. What else?
Then there's the emotional side. Things seem to really come to a head on the Thursday before she disappeared, February 5th.
The incident at work. The breakdown.
Yeah. She was working her security job at UMass, took a phone call from her older sister, Kathleen, and around 10:30 that night, her supervisor found her, basically distraught, crying, completely zoned out, unresponsive.
I just kept saying, my sister. Right.
Yeah, it's repeating, my sister. For years, that was a huge mystery. People speculated all sorts of things, mental health crisis, some unknown trauma.
So we know more now, don't we, about that call?
We do. It came out much later, around 2017, what was actually going on. Her sister Kathleen, who struggled with alcoholism, had just been discharged from rehab and had apparently relapsed quite badly that evening.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Maura was dealing with the immediate trauma and worry of her sister's relapse.
Exactly. That's an incredible burden for anyone, let alone a 21-year-old juggling school, work, and her own legal stress. it puts that breakdown into a very different light. It's not some random event. It's rooted in serious family crisis.
So she's emotionally reeling from that on Thursday night.
And she basically gets less than 2 days to process that before the next major incident happens.
The other car crash, the one involving her dad's car.
Right. Sunday morning, February 8th. She'd been at a dorm party, then maybe dinner with her dad, Fred. He was visiting.
Mm-hmm.
And while driving his Toyota Corolla back to his motel, around 3:30 a.m. Sunday, she hits a guardrail. Massachusetts Route 9 in Hadley.
And it wasn't just a fender bender, was it?
Not at all. The damage was significant. Nearly $10,000 worth back then.
Which our sources say is like, what, almost $17,000 today?
Something like that, yeah. $16,624. A huge amount of damage to her dad's car.
So now she's got this massive financial problem, the hassle of dealing with it, and it involves the police again.
Yes. An accident report was filed. Now, interestingly, just like maybe she got lucky with the credit card thing not blowing up immediately, the report doesn't mention any field sobriety tests being done.
Another potential bullet dodged? Maybe. But still, police interaction when she's supposed to be keeping her nose clean for that 3-month period.
Exactly. Her dad, Fred, came, dealt with the immediate aftermath, rented a car for herself, and left for Connecticut later that day. He told Maura to get the accident forms from the RMV.
Which she does later.
Right. And they planned to talk on the phone Monday night, presumably about the insurance claim for his wrecked car.
Okay, so let's recap the pressure cooker by Sunday morning. She's got the looming legal threat, the fresh trauma of her sister's relapse, and now a nearly $17,000 car accident involving her dad's car that she needs to sort out.
It's a perfect storm of stress.
And there's one more little mystery from that Sunday morning, isn't there? Something about a phone call.
Yeah, this is interesting. At 4:49 a.m. Sunday, so just over an hour after she crashed her dad's car, a call is made from Fred Murray's cell phone to Maura's boyfriend.
From Fred's phone.
Okay.
But we don't know who made the call or what was said.
Nope. Could Fred have called the boyfriend? Could Maura have used her dad's phone to call him? We just don't know. The content, the participants, totally unknown.
Why is that short call considered potentially significant?
Well, it brings the boyfriend into the immediate aftermath of the crisis. If Fred called him, it suggests the boyfriend was part of the support network, someone to loop in. If Maura called him, it shows she reached out to him right away.
But then she emails him the next day saying she didn't feel like talking.
Exactly. That suggests maybe things weren't totally smooth there either. Was the relationship another source of stress? That call, followed by the email, certainly hints that it might have been a fourth layer to everything else piling up on her.
Okay, so all that pressure, legal, family, financial, maybe relationship stress too, it all sets the scene for Monday, February 9th. And this is the day where Maura seems to shift gears, doesn't she? From crisis mode to, well, action mode.
Yeah, it's a really striking shift from that emotional breakdown on Thursday and the accident Sunday morning to this series of very deliberate, calculated actions on Monday. Actions that strongly suggest she was planning to leave.
Where do we first see evidence of that planning?
It starts really early Monday morning, just after midnight. She gets on her computer and uses MapQuest.
Remember MapQuest?
Oh, yeah. She searched for directions to 2 specific areas. The Berkshires in western Massachusetts and Burlington, Vermont.
Okay, so she's looking north, establishing a direction of travel.
Definitely. And then later that day, she makes a couple of phone calls that really cement this idea. She was looking for a place to stay up north.
She called about hotels.
One call was to a number that gave recorded information about booking hotels in Stowe, Vermont, another popular tourist spot.
And the other call, this one's interesting, right? But the condo.
Yeah, this one is really significant. She called about renting a condominium in Bartlett, New Hampshire.
Bartlett. That's in the White Mountains, isn't it? An area her family knew.
Exactly. They used to vacation there, so this wasn't just a random pick. The call lasted 3 minutes, but she didn't actually rent the condo.
So she's actively looking for lodging, exploring options. Maybe a familiar place like Bartlett, maybe somewhere more anonymous like Stowe or Burlington.
Yeah.
The destination wasn't fixed, but the intent to go north seems clear.
Absolutely. And while she's figuring out where to go, she's also setting up her reason for going, or at least her excuse for being gone.
Emails.
Right. First, around 1:00 p.m., she emails her boyfriend. It's sort of reassuring. Said she got his messages, hadn't felt like talking, but would call him later. Kind of keeps things normal on that front while also creating distance.
But the crucial email, the one that really looks like planning, was to her work supervisor at the nursing school.
Yeah, at 1:24 p.m. She emails her clinical supervisor and says she's taking a week off and going out of town because there's been a death in the family.
Which was completely untrue.
Completely fabricated. Her family confirmed later there was no death. This email is probably the single biggest piece of evidence supporting the theory that she planned to disappear, at least for a while. It bought her a 7-day head start before anyone at school or work would officially worry.
A 7-day window of invisibility, essentially. That's pretty calculated.
It really is. It's why the police initially leaned so heavily towards her leaving voluntarily. Okay, so she's got her potential destinations researched, she's got her cover story in place. Now she needs resources.
Money and supplies.
Exactly. She leaves the UMass campus around 3:30 p.m. on Monday, and it's worth noting there was a snowstorm that day, classes were canceled, so the campus was probably quieter than usual, making her departure less conspicuous.
Where did she go first?
First stop, an ATM. At 3:40 p.m., security cameras catch her alone withdrawing $280.
$280? Was that basically all the money she had access to in her account?
It seems likely it was most of it, yeah. Then, immediately after the ATM, she goes to a liquor store.
Also caught on camera.
Yes, and again, footage shows she was alone. She buys about $40 worth of alcohol, Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, some vodka, and a box of Francia wine.
That specific combination.
Yeah.
Liqueurs, vodka, box wine. It doesn't exactly scream casual weekend getaway, does it?
No, it feels more like stocking up for, well, either being alone for a while or maybe self-medicating pretty heavily. It's a significant amount and selection of alcohol for one person.
So she's got cash, she's got alcohol. She also picked up those accident report forms for her dad's car from the RV at some point that afternoon too, right?
Yes, she did follow through on that errand for her father. Then, sometime between 4:00 and 5:00 p.m., she leaves Amherst, presumably heading north, likely on Interstate 91.
And what about her dorm room? What did the police find there later? That adds another layer, doesn't it?
It really does. When police eventually checked her room, they found most of her belongings packed up in boxes.
Packed up, like moving out pack.
Exactly. Not just throwing some stuff in a bag for a week. Boxes packed, personal items like art taken down from the walls. It looked like someone preparing to vacate the premises permanently.
Which suggests that maybe that week-off email was just the initial cover story? That her plans might have been much bigger?
It certainly opens up that possibility. Maybe if she had rented that condo in Bartlett, she wasn't planning on coming back after 7 days.
But then there's that contradictory detail.
Yeah.
On top of the packed boxes.
Right. They found a printed email, an email that apparently suggested there was some kind of trouble in her relationship with her boyfriend.
So even as she's packing to leave, there's this hint that relationship problems might be part of the why. It just adds to the complexity. Was she running from the legal issues, the family stress, the accident fallout, or relationship trouble, or all of it?
It seems like it could have been any or all of those things. The evidence points in multiple directions simultaneously.
And the last concrete thing we know she did.
The last traceable action is a phone call she made at 4:37 p.m. She called her voicemail, presumably to check messages.
And after that?
Silence. Her cell phone was never used again. Her debit card, her credit cards never used again. She drove north, and electronically, she ceased to exist.
So we move from Maura's seemingly meticulous planning on Monday afternoon to, well, the complete opposite. The sudden, unexpected chaos of that evening on Route 112. This is where the plan, whatever it was, hits a literal roadblock.
Yeah, the vanishing point. And the location is just so critical to understand. Route 112, Wild and Monastic Road, near Woodsville and Haverhill, New Hampshire. We're talking deep rural territory.
Especially in early February.
Exactly. Base of the White Mountains. It would have been dark, freezing or near freezing temperatures, very little traffic, poor visibility, probably patchy snow or ice on the road, just a really isolated, unforgiving place to have car trouble.
The crash itself happened sometime after 7:00 p.m. Her car, that black 1996 Saturn sedan.
It went off the road on a sharp corner, hit a snowbank, then possibly a tree on the driver's side.
And the damage was pretty bad.
Oh yeah, bad enough to deploy both airbags. The impact smashed the left headlight, probably cracked the windshield, and crucially it damaged the radiator, rendering the car inoperable. It wasn't going anywhere.
So suddenly, she's stranded. Airbags deployed, which is disorienting and can cause minor injuries. Car's dead. It's dark. It's freezing. She's miles from anywhere. Total crisis moment.
The exact spot, according to coordinates, is 44 degrees, 7 minutes, 9 seconds north, 71 degrees, 56 minutes, 11 seconds west. Right there on that hairpin turn.
Okay, let's track the timeline from the moment of the crash. The first alert comes when?
7:27 p.m. A local resident, someone living near that corner, hears a loud noise, looks out, sees the car in the snowbank, and calls 911.
And this is where the first bit of confusion creeps in, isn't it, with that initial 911 report?
Yes, the log initially stated that the caller reported seeing a man inside the car smoking a cigarette.
A man.
Yeah.
That would change everything,
Yeah.
implying she wasn't alone.
Huge implications. But the caller later clarified that she hadn't seen a man smoking. She said she saw a red light glowing inside the car, which she thought might have been the end of a cigarette, or perhaps more likely, the light from a cell phone.
So she retracted the man smoking part. But the initial report lingered, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. That initial log entry fueled years and years of speculation about a possible passenger or a tandem driver who was with her. Even though the witness corrected herself, that seed of doubt was planted early on.
Okay, but after that 911 call, we get the most critical interaction. The last confirmed time anyone actually saw Maura Murray.
Yes, the encounter with the school bus driver. This man lived very close by, was driving home, and saw the accident scene. He pulled over to help.
What did he see? What does he report?
He saw a young woman, Maura, walking around the car. He noted she seemed cold, she was shivering, but he specifically said she didn't appear to be injured or bleeding, despite the deployed airbags.
And her reaction when he offered help.
This is absolutely key. She immediately pleaded with him not to call the police.
Pleaded. Strong word.
Yeah. She begged him not to call law enforcement, and she gave him a reason. She claimed she had already called AAA for roadside assistance.
The AAA lie.
The AAA lie. Because, as the bus driver knew perfectly well, there was basically zero cell phone reception in that specific area. Making that call would have been impossible.
So her immediate reaction in this moment of crisis wasn't, thank God, help is here. It was, don't call the cops.
Exactly. It shows that avoiding the police, likely because of that pending credit card charge and maybe the recent accident in her dad's car, was her absolute top priority. More important than getting help when stranded in the freezing cold.
So the bus driver, knowing the AAA story was bogus and probably sensing something was off, what did he do?
He respected her wish in the moment, didn't call from the scene. He continued on the very short distance to his home and called the police from his landline there. That call was received by dispatch at 7:43 p.m.
Okay, so the bus driver leaves her there alone by her car sometime between roughly 7:30 and 7:43.
Correct. Now, there's another potential timing wrinkle here. Some sources mention another witness, a different local resident, who claimed she drove past the scene around 7:37 p.m.
7:37, before the bus driver's call was dispatched.
Potentially, yes. And this second witness claims she saw a police SUV parked nose-to-nose with Maura's Saturn. She said she slowed down, didn't see anyone around, and drove on.
Okay, wait. If true, that contradicts the official police timeline, doesn't it?
It does. The official Haverhill police log says the first officer arrived on scene at 7:46 p.m. This witness suggests a police vehicle might have been there almost 10 minutes earlier at 7:37 p.m.
That 9-minute gap, that could be huge. Could an officer have arrived unofficially, talked to Maura, maybe scared her off before the official response started?
It's a major point of speculation in the online communities. Did something happen in that disputed 9-minute window? Was there an unlogged interaction that prompted her to flee into the woods right then? We just don't know for sure if that 7:37 sighting is accurate or mistaken.
So, sticking to the official record, the first Haverhill police officer arrives when?
7:46 p.m., he gets to the crash site.
And finds.
Finds the black Saturn, damaged, airbags deployed.
No, empty.
The car was locked. No sign of the driver anywhere in the immediate vicinity. Maura Murray was gone.
What about inside the car? What did the officer find there?
A collection of items that paints a really confusing picture. There were reddish stains, possibly from spilled red wine consistent with the box of wine she bought.
Suggesting she might have started drinking it?
Possibly. An empty beer bottle was also found, along with the damaged Franzia box.
What else? What did she leave behind?
Quite a lot, actually. Her AAA card was there. The blank accident report forms she'd picked up earlier. Gloves, makeup, a bunch of CDs, even some diamond jewelry, and her favorite stuffed animal.
So valuable personal items, things you'd probably want if you were stranded or running away, were left in the locked car.
Yeah, but what was missing is just as important. Her debit card, her credit cards, her cell phone, all gone. And apparently some of the alcohol she'd purchased was also missing from the car.
So she took the money, the untraceable communication device, her phone, even if it didn't work there, and some of the booze. She took the means for financial independence and maybe self-soothing, but left identity markers and comfort items.
It's a very strange selection, and then it's probably the weirdest piece of physical evidence at the scene.
The rag in the tailpipe.
The rag in the muffler pipe, yeah. Police found a piece of cloth, likely from Maura's own roadside emergency kit, stuffed into the exhaust pipe of the Saturn.
What on earth could that mean? It's so bizarre.
It's generated endless debate. The main theories you see in the sources are, 1, maybe it was a clumsy attempt by Maura herself to plug something or stop a noise. Seems unlikely given the car was probably dead anyway.
Okay, theory 2.
Theory 2, maybe she was trying to make the car harder to start or make it run rough if it did restart, perhaps to buy time if she was hiding nearby. Still seems a bit far-fetched.
And the third theory, the one the abduction theorists often point to.
Theory 3 is that someone else put it there, either to further disable the car or maybe as some kind of bizarre signal or calling card. It just doesn't fit neatly into the she panicked and ran narrative. It feels intentional somehow. But by whom and why?
It's just another one of those details that keeps this case from being simple. We also know she had a book in the car, right? Not Without Peril.
Yes, a book specifically about the dangers of hiking and climbing in the White Mountains, full of accounts of accidents and people getting lost or dying up there.
So she wasn't naive about how dangerous that environment was, especially in winter, which makes the idea of her just wandering off into the woods seem even less likely, doesn't it?
It does. She knew the risks of that terrain. Walking away from the road, away from potential help, into that wilderness, it would have been incredibly perilous.
Okay, so we have the crash, the weird evidence, the locked car, the missing driver. How long did it take for authorities to officially classify her as missing?
That's another point of contention. The last confirmed sighting was by the bus driver around 7:30 or 7:40 p.m. Monday night. But she wasn't officially referred to as missing until noon the next day, Tuesday.
Nearly 24 hours later.
Yeah. Almost a full day passed before the official missing person protocol seemed to kick in fully.
That delay must have been agonizing for the family and potentially lost crucial time for any search effort.
Absolutely. It suggests that law enforcement's initial working theory was strong, that she had likely orchestrated this, left voluntarily, and wasn't necessarily in immediate danger requiring an urgent large-scale search.
Is there any other potential sighting from that night?
There is one more reported sighting, but it comes with some big caveats. A local contractor driving home later that evening, sometime between 8:00 p.m. and 9:30 p.m.
So maybe an hour or two after the crash.
Right. He reported seeing a young person walking quickly eastbound along Route 112. This was about 4 to 5 miles east of the crash site.
Eastbound,
Yeah.
heading deeper into the mountains towards the Kankamagas Highway area.
Potentially, yes. The description was pretty vague, though, wearing jeans, a dark coat, and a light-colored hood. Could have been Maura, could have been anyone.
What are the problems with this sighting?
The biggest issue is the delay in reporting. He didn't report it right away. It was only about 3 months later, when he was going through his work logs for some reason, that he supposedly pinpointed the date and realized the person he saw might have been Maura.
3 months later. That's a long time for memory to be reliable.
Exactly. So while it's tantalizing it puts someone walking east on that road that night, the credibility is shaky due to the time lag. It's another frustrating dead end, in a way.
Okay, so Maura is officially declared missing around noon on Tuesday, February 10th. And right away you see this split in how the situation is viewed, right?
Definitely. Law enforcement, based on the preparations, the AAA lie, the missing money, seemed to be operating under the assumption of voluntary disappearance, maybe even considering her possibly suicidal.
But the family, especially her father, Fred, they were immediately convinced something bad had happened to her. Foul play.
Right. And this fundamental difference in perspective really shaped how the initial search and investigation unfolded.
When did the physical search actually begin?
Formal search efforts started on Wednesday, February 11th. New Hampshire Fish and Game got involved, bringing in search teams and dogs.
And the dogs did pick up something, didn't they, near the car?
They did. One of the tracking dogs picked up Maura's scent from a glove found near the Saturn. The dog followed that scent for about 100 yards east along Route 112.
East, okay. Same direction as that questionable contractor sighting later on.
Correct. But then, after about 100 yards, the dog lost the scent completely. Just stopped dead.
What does that usually suggest in a tracking situation?
It strongly suggests that the person either got into a vehicle at that point, which would support the idea maybe someone picked her up, willingly or unwillingly.
Or maybe she entered water, like a stream, or got onto pavement where scent doesn't hold.
Exactly. But the getting into a car theory seemed most plausible given the location right on the road. It didn't necessarily mean foul play, could still fit the tandem driver idea from the voluntary disappearance theory.
So the physical search yields this one tantalizing clue,
Yeah.
but then nothing definitive. What was the official narrative being put out by police early on?
On Thursday, February 12th, police issued statements suggesting Maura might be headed towards the Kankamagas Highway area further east into the mountains. They listed her as endangered and possibly suicidal.
That suicidal label must have been hard for the family.
Extremely. And crucially, the police also stated publicly that she was believed to have been intoxicated at the crash scene.
Which directly contradicted the bus driver's account, right?
Yeah.
He said she seemed cold, but not impaired.
Yes. This intoxicated and suicidal narrative immediately put the family in a position where they felt they had to fight back against this image of Maura as just another troubled college kid who ran off drunk. Fred Murray, in particular, was very vocal disputing this.
And the family also felt the search wasn't broad enough initially.
Right. They were frustrated that authorities in neighboring Vermont hadn't been formally notified right away, even though Burlington and Stowe were potential destinations based on her MapQuest searches and calls. The family pushed hard to expand the search area.
The case did gain national attention pretty quickly, though.
It did. The FBI got involved within 10 days of her disappearance. They started interviewing family members, friends, looking at the bigger picture, expanding the search parameters beyond just New Hampshire and Vermont.
But even with the FBI's resources, the trail remained cold.
Pretty much. There were searches, leads followed up. There was that discovery of some ripped women's underwear found near French Pond Road a few weeks later, which created a brief stir.
But DNA testing ruled that out.
Yeah, DNA tests confirmed it wasn't Maura's, another dead end.
As 2004 wore on, the focus started to shift, didn't it? Less about finding her lost in the woods, and more about potential foul play involving locals.
Exactly. And this leads us to probably the most enduring and controversial focal point of the investigation, the A-frame house and the knife.
Okay, let's unpack this carefully. What happened?
In late 2004, a local man approached Fred Murray. He gave Fred a rusty knife with reddish stains on it.
Okay. Where did the knife supposedly come from?
The man claimed it belonged to his brother, and this brother lived in an A-frame house less than a mile from where Maura crashed her car.
Less than a mile. That's incredibly close proximity.
Extremely close. And the story that came with the knife was that this brother had a criminal past, had been acting strangely since Maura disappeared, and there were even unverified claims he might have been seen cruising around the crash site area around that time.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like a huge lead. A potential suspect, a potential weapon right near the scene.
On the surface, yes. But the problem was the source. The credibility of the man who provided the knife was seriously questioned.
Why? What were the issues?
Other family members of his apparently came forward later, suggesting he might have fabricated the story about the knife, possibly motivated by potential reward money. They cited his alleged history of drug problems.
Ah, so you have this compelling scenario, but the person bringing the information forward is unreliable. That puts investigators in a tough spot.
A very tough spot. Do you pursue the lead based on the proximity and the knife, or dismiss it because the source might be compromised?
Did they investigate the brother or the house further?
They did. The A-frame house remained a point of interest for years. In October 2006, volunteer searchers brought cadaver dogs to the property.
And the dogs reacted.
According to reports, the dogs showed significant interest, went bonkers, is the phrase often used particularly around a closet inside the house.
Indicating the possible scent of human decomposition.
That's what cadaver dogs are trained to detect, yes. Based on the dog's reaction, investigators collected a sample of carpet from that closet area for forensic testing.
And the results of that test?
Never publicly released. We don't know if they found anything conclusive or not. Another frustrating lack of resolution on a key piece of potential evidence.
So the A-frame house just sort of lingered as this cloud of suspicion.
It did, for over a decade. Until finally, in 2019, the house had new owners. And they gave permission for investigators to conduct a thorough search, including excavating part of the basement near where the dogs had alerted.
And what did that excavation find?
Absolutely nothing conclusive related to Maura Murray's disappearance. So while it doesn't clear the person who lived there back in 2004, it seems to rule out the house itself as a burial site.
Okay. Around the same time Maura disappeared, there was another similar case nearby, wasn't there? Brianna Maitland.
Yes. In March 2004, just about a month after Maura vanished, 17-year-old Brianna Maitland disappeared after leaving her job in Montgomery, Vermont. Her car was found abandoned, crashed slightly into an old farmhouse about 66 miles away from Maura's crash site.
2 young women abandoned cars, remote rural locations, close in time and geography. People naturally made connections.
Understandably so. But state police in both Vermont and New Hampshire investigated potential links and officially stated they found no evidence connecting the two cases. Still, they remain linked in the public mind and in online discussions.
It took quite a while for the official status of Maura's case to change, didn't it?
It did. For 5 years, it was primarily handled as an active missing persons investigation. Then, in 2009, it was formally transferred to New Hampshire's cold case unit.
What did that change signify?
It was significant. Officials at that time stated they were now treating the case as a potential homicide and a suspicious missing persons case.
So a shift away from assuming voluntary disappearance.
Definitely. While they stressed they still had no concrete proof of a crime having been committed, the sheer length of time she'd been missing with absolutely zero trace, no financial activity, no credible sightings, made the idea she just walked away to start a new life seem extremely unlikely. The default assumption had shifted towards foul play.
And the investigation hasn't stopped since then. It's still active.
Oh, absolutely. It's an active cold case. Leads still come in. For instance, in 2021, bone fragments were found on Loon Mountain, which is about 25 miles east of the crash site.
An area Maura might have known.
Her sister mentioned Maura was familiar with that area, so it caused a flurry of hope and activity. But forensic testing confirmed the bones were not Maura's. Just another reminder of how many leads they have to run down.
And the FBI stepped up its involvement again recently, too.
Yes. In January 2022, the FBI issued a national alert for Maura and created a profile for her in their Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP.
What does VICAP do?
It's a national database designed to track and correlate details of violent crimes across different jurisdictions. Putting Maura's case into VICAP allows investigators to easily compare details with other unsolved disappearances or homicides nationwide, looking for potential patterns or links to known offenders. It really underscores that they are looking at this through a criminal lens now.
And just this year, February 2024, for the 20th anniversary.
New Hampshire authorities released an updated, age-progressed photograph of what Maura might look like today, a way to keep her face and the case in the public eye, hoping someone might recognize her or remember something.
So, despite the years, the official investigation continues, now strongly leaning towards a criminal explanation.
Correct. Which brings us back to those two dominant theories that have been debated endlessly by the public, the media, and the family.
The voluntary disappearance theory versus the abduction-homicide theory.
Exactly. The voluntary theory, often associated with journalist James Renner's work, posits that Maura planned her disappearance, possibly met up with a tandem driver after the crash, and left willingly. The main motive proposed is usually escaping the potential fallout from the credit card fraud charge and how it might affect her nursing career.
And the other side.
The abduction or death theory. This is what her family, particularly Fred Murray, has consistently believed, that she encountered foul play shortly after crashing her car. Either she was taken by someone who happened upon the scene, perhaps the person associated with the A-frame house or someone else driving by, or maybe she succumbed to the elements after getting lost or injured trying to flee into the woods. But the core belief is she did not leave alive and willingly.
And the frustration of this case is that the evidence seems to support both theories in different ways, doesn't it?
Precisely. Her actions before the crash, the packing, the lies, the cash, the research, they all scream planned departure.
But her situation after the crash, stranded, freezing, car disabled, her plea not to call police, but obvious need for help that screams vulnerable victim of circumstance.
She meticulously planned a controlled escape, but ended up in a completely uncontrolled, high-risk crisis. That fundamental conflict is why this case remains so stubbornly unsolved.
Let's talk about the wider impact of this case. You mentioned earlier, Maura disappeared in February 2004. Facebook launched.
Wow.
When was it?
Literally days before Maura went missing, February 4th, 2004, I believe.
Wow. That timing is incredible. It really does place her disappearance right at the dawn of the social media age.
It's why it's often called the first major crime mystery of that age. Before Maura Murray, missing persons cases relied on traditional media newspapers, TV news, flyers. Suddenly, with Maura's case, you had the rise of internet forums, message boards, dedicated websites where armchair detectives could gather, share information, and speculate endlessly.
Places like websleuths.com had active threads on Maura as early as 2005, right?
Oh yeah, very early on, it became one of the foundational cases for the online true crime community.
Why this case, do you think? Why did it become such an obsession online compared to maybe other missing persons cases from that era?
Well, as the journalist Bill Jensen put it offers the perfect obsession. It's this intricate puzzle box. You have a relatable victim, a young, promising student. You have a contained, mysterious crime scene, the crashed car, the locked doors, the weird clues like the rag.
And just enough concrete details.
Exactly. Just enough facts. The MapQuest searches, the death in the family email, the alcohol purchase, the dog tracking 100 yards to make people feel like if they just look hard enough, if they just connect the dots in the right way, they could be the one to solve it.
Jensen called it a puzzle of clues that offers a tantalizing illusion of being solvable.
That's the key word. Illusion. It feels perpetually on the cusp of being solved, which keeps people engaged, analyzing every detail, every inconsistency, sometimes for years, even decades. It fosters this almost, obsessive level of scrutiny.
What are the pros and cons of that kind of intense, crowdsourced investigation?
Well, the biggest pro is awareness. This case has stayed in the public consciousness largely because of the online communities and the media they fuel. It keeps pressure on law enforcement, and occasionally it might even generate a genuine new lead.
But the downside?
The downside is huge. Massive amounts of misinformation get spread. Wild theories take root and become hard to dislodge. Sometimes online sleuths can interfere with the official investigation, or worse, harass people they suspect, often based on very flimsy evidence. And for the family, it must be incredibly painful to see their loved one's life and tragedy picked apart and sensationalized constantly.
Yeah, the line between helping and harming can get really blurry.
Very blurry. And the media plays a huge role, too. Shows like 2020, Disappeared, that Oxygen Network documentary series, The Disappearance of Maura Murray, they keep bringing this story back to a mainstream audience, reinforcing its status as this iconic American mystery.
And now, even the family is using those modern tools. Maura's sister, Julie, started a TikTok account.
Yeah, in 2021, using TikTok to share information, raise awareness, and sort of reclaim the narrative in a way. It shows how the search for someone who went missing in 2004 has completely adapted to the communication landscape of the 2020s.
It really has become more than just a missing persons case. It's almost a symbol of the unsolved mystery in our hyper-connected, information-saturated age.
I think that's fair. You had this stark contrast. We know so much about Maura's life and her actions right up until that crash. We have emails, phone records, ATM footage, witness accounts.
A detailed digital and physical footprint.
Right up until she walks away from that Saturn. And then, complete information blackout. She planned maybe for a week of absence, but achieved total, enduring silence.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we keep coming back to that central conflict, don't we? The battle between Maura's apparent intention and the sheer accident that befell her.
It's the core dilemma. On one hand, you have that clear timeline of prepared flight. Packing the boxes, withdrawing the cash, concocting the false death in the family email to buy herself a week. Even lying to the bus driver about AAA fits that pattern of deliberate evasion.
Everything pointing towards a plan to disappear, to escape whatever pressures were closing in.
But then, completely countering that, you have the timeline of pure accident, the unexpected, severe crash, the airbags going off, the car being totally disabled, being stranded, alone on a freezing remote road in the dead of night. That scenario screams emergency. It demands seeking help, not running away.
Why would someone who spent all day setting up a careful, controlled escape, then, in a moment of crisis, abandon her car, leave valuables and essentials behind, refuse help from the only person who offered it, and walk off into the dangerous New Hampshire woods in winter?
Her final known actions were defined by secrecy and avoiding authority, whether that authority was the police she feared or just a concerned local trying to help.
So we want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to wrestle with. It really gets to the heart of the Maura Murray enigma.
We have this incredibly detailed picture of her intention to disappear, built up over the course of that Monday. But the reality of her disappearance seems to have been triggered and shaped by that single chaotic moment, the crash.
So the question is, how much of her vanishing was the result of the plan she so carefully constructed? And how much was simply a panicked, maybe irrational reaction to the accident that threw that plan completely off the rails at 7:27 p.m. on Route 112?
Think about it. How often do we make detailed plans for our lives? mapping out steps, preparing for contingencies, only to have everything instantly derailed by one unpredictable event, one moment of chaos. That intersection of intent and accident might be the real enduring mystery behind Maura Murray.